Welcome to another episode of Raivision Dialogue. And today I've got a very special guest, somebody I can call a friend or younger brother. And he lives in apparently a very beautiful city called Auckland in New Zealand. Welcome Ashfaaq Khan to our dialogues.
Yes, Sabke Ram Ram, Assalamu alaikum.
Ram Ram.
Thank you.
Walaikum assalam. Good
Thank
day.
you, Doc. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, I've got a series of questions to you. Somebody I regard as a very creative young man, who has done a number of creative work in Fiji and then now in New Zealand. But let's have a bit of introduction of your good self by you.
Hot seat.
Yes.
So I've been in the creative industry for a while. I mean, ever since I was young, I've always been thinking about stories. Found stories everywhere to keep myself occupied. So that's always been sort of my first love, reading books, watching movies and trying to find kirdar characters in everything that I look and do. So ever since I've been young, I've had this thing that I'd go out and I'd see random people walking by and I think what their story was. And and try to make little plots in my mind and give them special abilities, or just thought what their life was going to be, and it just got more and more creative as I got older, I suppose. So I moved to New Zealand quite early, in about 2000. I think it was in 2004 that I moved here. I studied here, then I went back to Fiji, and when I went back to Fiji, one of the first creative things I did was I started writing a comic strip for Fiji Times. It was called New. So I started that and I wrote that for a couple of months, and then the artist that was drawing it, his name was John Navosa. He took over and started doing it himself. Then after that, I joined radio, and that's where essentially I got my first writing break. So I used to write radio ads. I was a copywriter over there, and I still consider radio my first love. From there on, I got the opportunity to write dialogues for a Fiji Hindi film. It was called Pump Up the Mandali.
Okay, Ashfaaq, we'll take it one by one.
Yep.
I want to guide the audience. You know the whole story yourself,
Yep.
but I want to guide the audience step by step, your journey, which I know from the time I know is probably 10 years.
Yeah, it's been that while long, 10 years.
Yes.
Wow.
The first question is, I mean, what you said about finding characters and reading and things like is very similar to my journey, which I've written in the book I'm writing at the moment. So probably that's why we are in the same field, writing and films. But I want to ask you, is what inspired you into films, especially in screenwriting?
So it's the stories, really. I mean, a lot of people watch movies for the star power, big names, big actors and stuff. I've always watched it for the stories. So and the characters those big actors play, and so it's just amazing how the thought that somebody actually sat down and thought of all these plots and all these characters and all these lines, sitting on a table on a laptop or a typewriter, and came up with this. So it all starts from that guy who's sitting behind a laptop, typing, creating this universe. And I always found it very powerful. So it's just that when I watched films as a kid, I thought, oh, who wrote this? Wow. I mean, how can Amitabh Bachchan say, "Mard ko dard nahi hota," whatever line that he came up with. So it just felt really powerful.
A supplementary, Ashfaaq.
Yeah.
Which types of movies you liked? Was it Bollywood or Hollywood or all types of movies?
It was a mixed bag. I started. It sounds like a cliche, but I was probably one of the early adopters of the superhero genre. So I always, when I was a kid, one of the first movies that I remember watching is Superman 4: Quest for Peace. It's one of the crappiest superhero movies ever made, but it just showed me that a man could fly. And I always, and it just blew my mind. I mean, just seeing this guy who could just jump and not land. And just go wherever you wanted and wear this tight blue suit and have all these awesome powers. So it just engrossed me. And I always say that movie was the first movie that I remember, and it just made an impression on me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, in a dialogue for my book, Romancing with Cinema, is a dialogue between question and answer between Professor Subramani and myself. He sends me questions and answer. To one of the questions I wrote as an 11-year-old, my first film was Geet Gaya Patrone, and that was Jitender. And I was 11 years old in Globe Theatre in Lautoka, and it amazed me. I couldn't believe it. Those were people, huge screen, larger than life characters, the talking and singing song and storytelling. So that is my first impression of the first film I saw, and of course you saw this one few years later. Now coming to the second question, which actually put you into films, is you, I think, got commissioned to write the screenplay for a New Zealand film. If I'm not wrong, it was Pump Up the Monthly. Tell me how it came about.
I didn't write the screenplay for that. I wrote the dialogues
Okay.
only. Yeah. So I was, one day all of a sudden I was just motivated that I wanted to learn how to write films. I had no idea how to write films. I don't think there are many writers in Fiji even now. So I just wanted to know how you wrote it. I'd written a few plays, little high school plays and a few other things, little Ramlila dramas and stuff. But other than that, I had no experience, and I didn't know what format to write it in, and how it was placed, and how it was structured, and how it all worked. So I remember that was when 10, 15 years, 10, 12 years ago, more than, but 13 years ago now, Pump Up the Monthly. So at that point in time, not everybody had these phones, not everybody had phones on them and stuff, and so I sat down in my friend's internet shop, Sham, and I Googled how to write scripts, and just saw this format and stuff, and just didn't know how to get around doing it. So I went to Fiji Film Commission, and I told them, look, I'm a budding writer, and I just want to, if you've got any projects coming up, productions coming up, I'd like to go and help and learn. So coincidentally, the day I went, these guys from Pump Up the Monthly, they were due to actually come on that day for the initial visit. So that's when I got introduced to Shri, Monty, and couple of other people who were making this film. So they had a script ready, and they had templates of dialogues as well. So they needed someone to put those dialogues in Fiji Hindi. And I've got if you have seen Sahara, I've got very flowery Fiji Hindi when it comes down to it. when it gets down to it. So I started writing the dialogues, and at that point in time, they introduced me the software that they used for screenwriting and stuff, and that's where I got my first look at that software. So when I got that software, I started formulating and writing dialogues on it, and it was fun. And
this reminds me of the way a screenplay that is written in India. Basically, somebody writes the story, somebody writes the screenplay, and another person writes the dialogue. which is very alien to me because I come up with the story, I write the screenplay, and I write the dialogue myself.
I'm the same that way as well. I don't like people messing with the what I write.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that's exceptionally good, So
Yeah.
But generally, I like to have control over what how those characters are because I've come up with them. So yeah.
Before we get to the stint in year, rather not the stint, year at the FNU's Film and TV department, I remember, I don't know which year it was. Was it in 2009 when I was in Fiji, or 2011? Probably 2009 when you contacted me, and then. We, in a way, collaborated in an excellent screenplay, which was based on rugby.
Yes, Sevens. I still have that. It's not been made. So if you've got any people who want to finance that, like anybody's watching it. Yeah. So yeah, I had this idea while writing the Dialysis of Pump of the Monday. I had this idea of Sevens, and Sevens was a film about Sevens rugby and family dynamics and stuff. So the premise of it was very simple, but the idea of it was pretty much an underdog story. I don't want to say much about that film, but yeah, it was an underdog story about somebody achieving their Sevens dream despite adversities. So I was thinking about writing this, and I did not know who would make hour and a half feature film, and I'd how to get money for it and stuff like that. So Rajneel Raj told me that he had met with this lecturer called Satish because he had done his he had acted in your PhD film, right? So he told me, so you should go see Satish. So I don't know if I emailed you or called you, but then later, I think it was on the day I came and saw you at university, and you told me, okay, this is how we'll do this script. So we went back and forth. I wrote the script and I sent it over to you. You reviewed it and tell me what was working, what was not working, and then we formulated. And that was the first feature film I wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is excellent screenplay which you came up with, and it's so sad that is still on the paper. And having said that, my best screenplay is also still on paper. I wrote that about 20 years ago. I'm looking for the right producer to come to make that film. So I offer this platform for you to appeal to those people out there. There are quite a few producers around the Fijian diaspora. Take this offer and appeal to them and see if they can come and fund this great screenplay.
Yeah, Sevens is a film that actually shows the true meaning of being Fijian. So the idea of that script or the main character of it came to me when when it was announced that everybody in Fiji could be called Fijians all of a sudden, and then it just got me thinking, how what being Fijian meant for a person of Indian descent, like I was, and how much barriers there are between a person of the Indian diaspora and the indigenous people in Fiji, and how do you break them, and how do you come up as one thing? And I saw that the one thing that connects us is rugby. Even though that we don't have people of Indian descent who are actually actively playing in the sport. We are active spectators, but we are not active participants. So that's where the idea of Sevens sort of gelled, and that's what it is. Sevens is a movie which talks about the meaning of being a Fijian, how all of us have got some similar aspirations, how all of us battle, innate racism within the country, and we overcome it, and we still are able to, share a plate and share values. So that was what the film is about, and it's a great movie, you know. So if you've got if you're interested in backing that up, that'll be great. It is a movie that needs to be made. You know, I'm still actively trying to find finances for that film. I've talked to a few people in New Zealand, and they want to make the movie a little bit more New Zealand centric, but they're thinking about producing it. But let's see, fingers crossed, and hopefully we're able to, you know, bridge that. And
yeah, and during that time, Ashfaaq, Fiji has become undisputed king in sevens rugby,
yeah,
and we still don't have many, if any. I think you told me there's one Fijian of Indian origin who plays at the national level or had played at national level. And as I remember, this
yeah, in New Zealand, huh? He's half Ratuman and half Fiji Indian. His name is Rocky Khan, same surname, no relation.
Okay. So this, as we now, you and I know, the films can play a huge role in influencing people's mindset, and hopefully somebody is going to step up and produce this film for you. And now moving on, I think in 2012. You said later that we were going to talk about it. You're reluctant actor, but if I recall properly, rightly, is that you were a bit reluctant to join the FNU's film and TV department, but which you did and did very well. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I actually pretty much joined because you were there initially. You know, I just thought it'll just give us a lot more time to probably come up with more creative ideas and scripts, which we did. You know, we did write a very good script that won a lot of awards later on as well. Yeah, so I essentially joined because you were there, and it was a learning experience. It had its ups and downs, obviously, but it was a very good learning experience. You know, I learned a lot about. I'm not the flashiest editor when it comes to film, so I learned a little bit about editing and a lot about the technical nuances of cinema. You know, something that I usually put at the back burner. But it does give you, if you understand the technicality of making a film, it just helps you write the film a little bit better, especially when you're writing something that is, you know, remarkably low budget. We have to do right these days. Mm-hmm. So you need to write to your capacity. So when I wrote Sevens, I wrote it like as I saw it. And I saw it as a grand movie, and I wrote it like a grand movie. And the fact of what didn't occur to me then was the fact that if you have to shoot rugby games, you need people, you need, you know, book a ground, you need a lot of a lot going to have those, you know, a lot of resources to get that sorted, you know. And if I had the technical expertise then probably I would have, you know, waited till I wrote that film, or maybe, you know, I would have written it a little bit different. But with the expertise that I gained from there, I started writing movies with you know, the technicalities in mind. So I saw the limitations first before I went into writing films. So that was the biggest thing that I got from FNU. Plus, I got to meet you, and I still have a very good relationship with Arun Chakravarti as well. You know, and both of you, you know, whom I consider my gurus.
Yes, we did. In that 1 year, we did develop a great relationship with certain people, and especially the students. You know, when they first arrived, the students, you know, they were not interested in writing. They were not interested in acting, and all they wanted to know is to learn how to use the camera. And but persuaded them to write, and they came up with, you know, I think 6 or 7 brilliant short scripts, and yours was one of that, and that was produced and entered in the Kula Film Festival, and it won an award there. I forgot the name of the film, but yeah, I was very much aware.
It was Giving Life. When we did Giving Life, I remember I wrote, because we had limitations. I thought we were supposed to write like a 15-minute script, so I wrote like a 15-minute script, and Satish, you looked at it and says, "Now this needs a little bit more depth. Don't worry about the time." So it ended up being a 40-minute film. So I wrote that film. I think over a span of a week or so, and it just became it just became a huge beast. I think they still use Giving Life, if I'm not wrong, as part of the Safe Motherhood initiative down at FNU in the medical school. Both films are still being used that I did, Giving Life and Say a Little Prayer. So
we'll come to the second one later, soon rather. But that was first short feature film which you wrote and produced, and which ended up winning an award. What was your feeling then, and what is your feeling now?
So that film was actually written on a format that you developed, entertainment, education, drama. So you told me that how people make docu series and stuff, which is quite usually very well informative and stuff, but it's people don't really hold on to it because it's not presented in the form of drama. You could do a docu series, but that's still information heavy. It doesn't leave much for room for interpretation. So so I wrote that film in that format, and I've written two since. I've got a pending script right now, Able, that I've been working on for a couple of years, very lazily, which is based on the same format too. So that was a very good format, and winning that award was just something that was, I think, momentary. It was very exciting then, but now it just seems like it was just one of those things that you had to go through. But what I really take back from that is the learning experience that it gave me on how to make a film and what not to do, and also the fact that it's still used as an education tool in FNU is that's something I hold very dear.
Yeah, that must be very satisfying when somebody's film is used as an educational tool. Is very, very satisfying. And then you went on and wrote the screenplay for your next short feature film, and that was also produced. I don't know whether you produced it, somebody else. Just tell us a bit about that.
So both films were produced under Bright Future Films, which is Rajneel's, but it was funded by FNU. So Professor Ian Rouse funded those projects, and he was a very, very avid, very keen supporter of the films that we made, and I really owe a lot to that guy. Also with so the films were produced back then. Fiji Women's Crisis Center was supposed to put in a bit of money for Say a Little Prayer, but I don't know, something fell apart and it didn't eventuate, but the film still got made. Probably because the film was a little violent, and it just so that sort of even Professor Ian Rouse, when I wrote that film, he was look, I mean, this is really, really graphic, and he was hesitant to do it, but he eventually agreed, and we made that film, and it worked out great. It's probably one of the best. I think that's the best film that I've done so far. Say a Little Prayer.
Yes, and I think that was about time. I think I'd left Fiji FNU by then, and we are always grateful to people like Professor Ian Rouse. He was a lovely man, very supportive of creative arts, and we'll come to him supporting the next venture in which you and I were involved. And in 2015, I wrote Sahara, a screenplay for full feature film, in Fiji Hindi. That was the only film I ever wrote in Fiji Hindi, because a friend of mine said to me, Satish, make a film which is essentially Fijian with Fiji Hindi, and on that basis I wrote it. And I remember, one of the biggest hurdles I had to overcome, based on my experience in making my doctoral film in 2007, was casting and line production in Fiji. Fortunately, you were there at the time in Fiji, and you stepped in as a line producer and also as an actor. And I think, I don't know whether they want to talk about it later or not, that film also changed your life for good, I hope.
Yeah, for great.
Yeah. So, yeah, take the audience through that, before, because you had, done a lot of work before I arrived with my team from Sydney to Fiji.
Yeah, so essentially, Sahara was very interesting because when it started, it was a very interesting phase in my life too. So when that the production started, Satish told me, look, there are a few people that we need. We need somebody to play Jimmy, who was sort of the side character in the film, supporting role character, and you needed a mother and a young girl to play a daughter, which was very essential to the plot. So I'd just been introduced to Angie, who's my wife now, to a couple of friends, and she had a daughter, and we went like, okay, like, why don't you do this? And she's from theater and film background. I mean, like, she's from a theater background, so she studied theater in USP when it was being offered. Mm-hmm. So she said, okay, it took a bit of convincing, but she agreed to do it, and so, and that sort of started, I mean, like in the duration of the film, we met and we got to know each other as well, and eventually got married. And also with that, I helped find Zara, who played the lead in the film. She was excellent. She's one of Fiji's top models, and also a member of the Fiji police force now. She's doing quite well. Yeah, so we had a lot of fun shooting the film, didn't we, Satish?
Yes, we will probably one day we'll get the cast together. I've said to Rajnil, and if you contact with Ratu Tawake, if we can get him together as well, it'll be great. I remember auditioning in Suva. I think we did that at the USP. And yes, the cast were all excellent, and it's due to your effort that we managed to do that. And although, I thought Zara was a bit young for that role, because of the age difference between the male character and her age, but eventually I think it worked out very, very well. And so that was the line production side of it. We filmed in Suva, then we traveled all to Lautoka. We spent about probably 2 weeks filming in Lautoka. And then we traveled by Nandi to Singatoka, to Suva, and filmed there again. And once again, Professor Ian Rouse was very generous in supporting. But what you describe yourself as a reluctant actor, but I think you are an excellent actor. I think you still should be acting, which you are reluctant to do. You did the role of Jimmy, which required tremendous effort, because it's the role of a gay person. And I wrote that character based on my experience of a role of gay people in that story structure. And there's no way you physically look like a gay person, because I'm not defining a gay person, but you over 6 feet tall and all that. But you pulled off that role exceptionally well. So what was your experience playing Jimmy's character?
Yeah, and it was a good experience. The experience was wonderful because I was working with friends. So it was a nice experience. But I don't really like acting. It's not my it's not something that I really like. I like to be behind the camera and just doing things and creating these personas, but not playing them. Playing them that's just a whole different beast. Trying to get into the head of Dr. Satish Rai and trying to.
I promise you, my last word about acting. I have worked with more than 100 actors, and acting is quite difficult if you want to do it properly. And one of the essential qualities of an actor is to learn lines and remember those lines whilst you are in the scene, and that's the quality which you have.
I actually changed quite a bit of your lines, Satish. I don't think I remember them very well, so I'll just take that compliment for now. But
well, put in this way, I don't like people changing lines. But if an actor, there's another actor over here, Anup Kumar, excellent actor. He does that from time to time. But if you change the line, but without losing the meaning, the essence of the dialogue, then it is okay. And I was there, directing, and as a writer, I did not see that the essence of the story, the dialogue was changed.
Yeah, I think it's just the writer in me that contributed to that. I remember that line that we were shooting down in around the Latoka hospital. Do you remember that? That line that went like, "Oh, Usala Chungar, and then stuff," and you could just not stop laughing. So I don't know how many takes we did that on that line.
That scene itself, we were standing, leaning by that the food stall where our singer Kishore Chetty is running that stall now. I think he was running the stall there then, and I think it happens in acting. I mean, it has happened to me before. Once you start laughing, then it takes about 15 minutes to half an hour. Probably sometimes you can't shoot that scene that day. You have to come back, and that's what happened to us. But eventually, Ashfaaq, that became one of the best scenes.
Yeah, it was funny. It was fun to shoot.
Yes. And so Sarah was a great experience. And now let's move on. We will, as I said, we will get together one day. We've got a platform now. We just have to get people, and we'll talk, reminiscence about our days in Fiji, giving life, and others. Remember that musical which we produced. I think that's one of the most popular song. Yes. Within few weeks, we had about 150,000. It went viral.
I think it's the effort took it down from the from their main platform due to someone says over there, but people took it down. I mean, ripped it up from YouTube and reposted it, and the reposts have got like 2, 3, 400,000 views.
I still get people sending that video, and the follow-on video as well. That's another one.
Yeah.
And still people send that clip to me, and I still love watching it. So that was great as well.
Yeah. Philly was very good in that, Philly, I've used him in Giving Life as well. He played one of the actors in that film. He played one of the parents in that film.
I cast Philly in Jati Ke Lambasa, and what's her name? I always Pasoni.
I forget her name too.
Wonderful, beautiful girl. I used to notice that she was not in film and TV. She was at Raivision campus, and I suggested to Arun that we should cast her, and she accepted, and she has become a legend.
Yeah, she's actually been in a lot of things. She's done last I heard, I think she's done a travel show in Fiji as well. She became quite popular, as a result of that.
Yes,
still when I meet Philly, I tell him, "Hey, kya bolti tu?"
Yes, this is what sliding doors is about, Ashfaaq. One little moment when I dared to ask her if she wanted to act, and she said yes. And that also changed her life, and also Philly's, because Philly was very shy. He never wanted to act. And then he did become, and he's a bit of a hero as well. And now, living Fiji, we'll share if you are in contact with these people, Ashfaaq.
I've got Philly on Facebook. I can find him. I remember when shooting Giving Life. I'm sorry to digress, but this is a story you must hear. So doing Giving Life, so there was a bit of a production delay. Sometimes it usually happens when you're making low budget films. So something went wrong, and our finance got stalled for a little bit. So I told Philly, because when we did the first script reading, I said, Philly, you need to grow your beard. Philly said, set, I'll do it. And then the production got stalled for about 3 months. So when I see Philly the next time, Philly's like this. I said, he said, don't change. So he was that into it, And I remember every time, the last day of his shoot, he said, okay, I finally can go home and shave.
His greater regret, Ashfaaq, is what we started in 2009, then 2011 to 12. We discovered so many talents, in Fiji, and we worked with few of them. I remember, I forgot his name. He's one of your friends who was in Giving Life. Excellent actor. I forgot his name. He played
Ellen.
Ellen, yes.
Yeah, Ellen. Ellen's awesome. Ellen's my lucky charm. So any project that I do, I try to have him in. Even the projects that I'm hopefully we're going to do in New Zealand. If we get some budget for it, I've got characters written out for him. I want to have him over here to in the films that I'm doing. So I always consider Ellen my lucky charm. He's great. He's just a great presence to have on set. That's all. He's like the life of the party. Always cracking jokes and stuff. And then I told him, when I was making Giving Life, Giving Life is a very violent film. And it is totally opposite Ellen's character. He played the lead role of a abusive husband in that, and it's like totally it's just a polar opposite of Ellen. Ellen's like this light-hearted, likes to kid around, hug people, and it's like people call him teddy bear. He's that gentle. So Ellen saw the script and said, no, I have to do this. I'm doing this, no one else. I wanted to have Wame Valentine in that film.
Yes.
to act that role. But Alan was no, not Wame. I'm your friend. You having meetings. And he did, and then I relented, and he did such a phenomenal job in that film. It was just like, even to this day, I showed this. I showed Say a Little Prayer to a couple of NGO friends down over here in New Zealand. People who work in Oringa Tamariki, the social services department. They saw the film and they said, like, who is that guy? I said, like, he's totally opposite what you've just seen, and it just shows that how great an actor Alan is. It's just amazing.
Yeah, such a pity that 10 years earlier we had all these great actors in Fiji. We had put them together. They were acting part of a creative team, and 10 years later, maybe if we had continued in that fashion, we would have a mushrooming film and television industry in Fiji. Unfortunately, it is not there.
The problem with I think the Fiji film infrastructure is that they are very good for international production. If I want to take a film from over here and I had $250,000 to spend, I can get the works done in Fiji. I can it's very easy. It makes things very easy for me as an international producer to go there. But they don't have infrastructure for people like me who wanted to actually make films staying while in Fiji, So
can I say on that issue, there's one of the top person who's running Fiji was here in Liverpool 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. We had a meeting, and in the meeting I said to that person, I said, look, 250,000 for people, film producers in the Fijian diaspora is still a huge amount of money. I think why don't you reduce that requirement to about $50,000, which is more affordable, and a film can be made, feature film, for $50,000 in Fiji, and he promised to do that, but wasn't done. I think 50,000 investment from overseas, which qualifies for 47% tax rebate, is more realistic. And there'll be a number of people from the Fijian diaspora. There should be exclusively for Fijian diaspora people. And what do you think about that? Do you think?
I think that'll be a great idea. Even if you have like $50,000 production money only just to spend in Fiji, that's still $50,000 spent in Fiji, right? So it just it'll just make it easier for me. Like I've got people over here. I've got Shri who wants to make. We're working on a project right now. Actually, we're working on a couple, but one of them is supposed to be a major feature film in Fiji. So if I had a $50,000 budget, I can raise $50,000. That's easy. I just need 10 people, 5 people to give you $10,000 each, and you're sorted. So, but and $50,000 is money that I can recover quite easily as well, right?
Exactly.
If I put into a project, obviously you have to make some money out of it. Otherwise, it's pointless. Otherwise, it's just an exercise in futility.
So I hope people in Fiji, in power, are listening. That promise was made in front of about 10, 15 people in Liverpool in a restaurant. I remember very clearly. And if that change can be made, I'm sure, each year about 5 to 10 films from the diaspora can be made in Fiji. So, yes, let's move on, Ashfaaq. We're coming towards the end of our short discussion. What are the projects you already mentioned, the projects you are working on now?
Right. So I'm working on a TV series. It's called Love 98.5. It used to be called Aria. So I'm writing the script of that. So it's just with COVID, that's supposed to be made in Fiji as well. So it's it's a bit of a, there's a bit of a holdback on that, but I'm working on. I've done the first episode, and I think you've read the first episode as well, Satish.
Yes.
If I'm right, yeah. And I think that's it's some of I think, according to me, that's some of the best writing that I've done. When it comes to writing film, I had not written anything for probably around 7 years or 5 years at least before before I sat down to write that. So it took me a lot to get back to form on it, and a couple of drafts. But I think Arya, the story that I have in mind and stuff, and the characters in it are very, very, very interesting. I'm hoping one of them is going to be played by you. So
hopefully,
yeah. So that's
if COVID allows us to do that.
So hopefully, no, but that is probably going to be made post-COVID. I want to do either 6 or 13 episodes, depending on what the producers want. This is actually going to be a proper, like a proper formatted scripted series with proper budgets and proper equipment and proper professionals doing a lot of things. So it's going to be a different class when it comes to filming this. I'm very excited about that. Along with that, I'm writing a sequel for Pump Up the Manly 2. For Pump Up the Manly, so that is underway as well. So I've not really started writing, and I think I've just done one scene, just the opening scene of it. But I'm still contemplating and thinking about the characters in it, the development, and how the older characters fit into the new template, because it's been about 13 years since Pump Up the Manly, I think. It was 2009 that it was filmed. So it's around 12 years. So it's interesting because we've got most of the people who are in the project who are returning, who at least have expressed interest in returning. So we've got most of the Manly boys in it. We've got a few new characters in it. We're having like very good music produced for it as well. One of the standpoint, I think, of Pump Up the Manly was it had very good music in it. So that is being done, and we're thinking about doing collection of short films, about 5 or 6, which is based around COVID. What life is like during COVID. So they're small slice of life series. The first one's called Chutney. Chutney is a film that I thought of writing a couple of years ago when it had nothing to do with COVID. It was, I think, Param. I think Param was one filmmaker from Australia wanted to come and just do a few shorts with filmmakers over here. So I thought I'd write Chutney, just like a 10-minute thing, and do it with them. It's a funny script. So, but it didn't happen. So I still have the ideas. I'm just, hopefully that's going to be good. That's probably going to be the first one that we'll do, though, in the next couple of months.
Well, I'm glad something is happening in New Zealand. We've got a group of filmmakers, Indo-Fijian filmmakers, actors. My friend Jagdish Punja is one of the assets there. And then we have got budding film production in America as well. I think Chandra Films. And then we have our producers here, Vimal Reddy, Vishwa Naidu, myself, Anil Mani. So it's good to see that Fijian diaspora filmmakers are, and I think in America, one of the older ones, experienced one is Sunil Bhan. I think, I don't know whether you have heard of him or not. He has been making films for about 20 odd years. So it's good to see all of them. And now you mentioned that now probably we'll be collaborating across the waters. And Dr. Hanif Koya has asked me to collaborate with him in his production in Fiji as well. So let's work together. And before we end this session and I say goodbye to you on this session, your last thoughts, Ashfaaq.
It's a very great initiative that you're doing, Doc. It's amazing, getting to connect with the people again, especially when you're stuck at home. Being stuck at home should be an ideal time to write, but for me, I'm more of a crowded person. I like to write in crowded spaces. So it's interesting, but it's good to always chat with you, Satish. And hopefully, the one giveaway that I would like to give a lot of people is that filmmaking is hard, and a lot of people want to get into the film industry, but in order for you to make a good film, you need a great script. So even if your film fails on technicality and a few other slip-ups here and there, if your story is crap, your movie is not going to go anywhere. So what we need to invest is in a pool of writers, I think. That's what we lack. We don't lack the capacity to make content. We lack the capacity to generate content. Now, since I've been in New Zealand, I have actually been quite blessed that I have had a lot of people who contact me to actually, write films for them. And it's just me being lazy, not writing them. But, I'd like to live in a time and space where, we could empower people to write scripts and supervise them, or probably give them ideas and they can develop it and stuff like that. And so that we'd be able to actually get a lot more content rolling a lot quicker. And be able to roll out, more creative stuff out there. So, invest in writers. That's what I'm. That's my takeaway from this. And
yeah, I totally agree. No matter how good technically you are, no matter how brilliant your camera person, your director, your actors are, if the story is bad, the film is going to be eventually be bad as well. And this platform is here for the community person. And if you want, if there are people who are willing, I can organize Zoom sessions where you and I can
definitely
have conversation with these budding writers and guide them through. You and I had this experience together. First of all, we did that. The 7th was done on email.
Yep.
And now we can do one better. We can sit. You can sit in Auckland. Somebody can be sitting in San Francisco. Somebody could be sitting in London. But we all could be communicating and sharing our thoughts together. So that's if people want that, the opportunity is there. And let's work on that.
Yeah, knowledge grows through sharing, and I think if to the people who are watching this, I think it's very important that we get more people to collaborate with, so we'll be able to put out more content and share. I've got, like I said, I'm working on 3 scripts already, and I'm supposed to be working on another 4 after that. And I have no issues, getting content from other people and making films and networking them with filmmakers who are able to make the stuff or have people who actually have helped develop the ideas I have into scripts because I don't have that much time to write everything I think of. So maybe we could collaborate and sit down and write these things and stuff and share credit, or you take your own credit if it's the entire idea will still help you through it. So yeah, I'm committed to that, Doc. If you are,
what we can do is to create. It seems that you need a group of writers in New Zealand, and because you're overwhelmed, and we'll work on that. In the end, I must say something which I think I've said to you before. I was totally impressed with the short film made by Nidhi. Yes, two people film. Nidhi playing one of them, and the young lad playing the other. And so through this platform, I'd like to congratulate Nidhi for doing that, and also Nidhi's mom and dad for helping her out. I think both of you would have helped her out, and I would encourage her to keep on doing that.
That script that they wrote, they actually generated themselves. I mean, I'd like to take credit for them, but they sat down. I just basically walked through them on how an AV format looked like, and they just went. Just a bunch of kids sat down, came up with the idea. This is what we're going to talk about and stuff. We just got a crew. All they did was shoot and edit it. That's it. Nothing else. So it was entirely a project made by people who are under 24 years old. So,
see, I'm at the stage where I'm trying to hand down, whatever skills, knowledge I have to the younger generation, and it's great that now you and Angie are also handing down your knowledge, skills to even a younger lot, and this is how we should be working. And I thank you and Angie for that. And once again, final thought before we end this.
No, just keep on rolling, Doc. You just that's what I say. I mean, like you never fail to come up with the ways to connect people. That's something that you've always been good at. And I've learned a lot from you. In this, but like I said, I've always thought of you as a guru, and just continue to inspire us. Continue to just do what you're doing. And keep rolling.
Thank you, Ashfaaq, and say hello to Angie and Nidhi and all other friends, in New Zealand and in Fiji as well. And until our next session, is goodbye from me, Satish Rai.